If you think saying the right words will bring her back, you are already losing her. You might believe that if you could just explain yourself, if you could just make her understand your heart, she would turn around. But she doesn't come back for words. She doesn't come back for apologies. She comes back for who you become in the silence. This isn't about playing games. It's about psychology. It's about power. It's about becoming the man she cannot forget. Even if she tries to move on, she will come back 100% if you apply these steps without compromise. Most men are terrified of silence. They view it as the enemy. They think silence means she is forgetting them. But the reality is the opposite. Silence is the canvas where her regret is painted. So put down the phone, stop the panic. We are about to dismantle the version of you that chases and build a man who attracts. Let's begin. When a woman leaves, most men rush to explain themselves. They want closure. They want to be heard. Deep down, they just want to be chosen again. But here is what they fail to understand. Attraction is not built on pity. It is built on respect. The more you try to be understood, the more you look like a man who cannot stand being left. You look like a child asking for permission to be loved. You start arguing your value instead of living it. And when you argue your worth, it depreciates instantly. Let's be brutally honest. Words don't bring her back. Availability doesn't make her curious. You could write the perfect text, pour your heart out, and promise to change. But if she is not emotionally receptive, it won't land. All she will hear is noise. The only thing that shifts her perception is contrast. She needs to feel the sudden silence of your energy. That silence should interrupt her expectations. She thought you'd chase. She thought you'd explain. But instead, you vanished. Not out of spite, but out of power. This is where most men fail. They think staying present and friendly shows strength. But to a woman who is pulled away, your availability just confirms she still holds the power. It confirms she can have you whenever she wants without the commitment. So, stop being emotionally available. Stop becoming unavailable in every way that used to feed her attention. You don't have to be cold, but you need to vanish from her emotional radar. She won't feel your presence anymore. And that absence, when done right, becomes haunting. The man who is unavailable becomes a mystery. And mystery is what brings her back. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you create a space, something must rush in to fill it. Most men think distance is the enemy, that if she's pulling away, they need to run toward her to close the gap. But here is the secret. Women only feel the loss when you stop rushing to fix it. That is exactly what the void is about. When you withdraw your presence, your energy, and your reactions, you create an emotional vacuum. This space used to be filled with your attention and concern. When that suddenly disappears, it echoes in her world in ways you can't imagine. Most men confuse space with passivity. They think, if I don't act, I lose her. But true power doesn't chase. It holds position. Here is the tactical implementation. Stop watching her stories. Stop liking her posts. Don't respond to breadcrumbs. Don't seek updates. Remove yourself completely from any emotional exchange. This isn't to punish her. It's to preserve your self-respect. Women are tuned into energy more than logic. They don't come back because of a well-written apology. They come back because your silence forced them to confront a world without you in it. The man who keeps messaging and hovering is easy to forget. But the man who disappears completely, calmly, and confidently becomes unforgettable. Create that void. Let it stretch wide. Let her feel how much space you used to fill. In time, the echoes of that space start speaking louder than your words ever could. She thought you couldn't be without her. Most women leave thinking you'll fall apart. They expect you to spiral, to chase, to break. When you do exactly that, you confirm her assumptions. You prove she was the prize. But when you evolve instead, when you rise without her, you shatter everything she believed about your value. You want her back? Then don't focus on fixing the relationship. Focus on fixing the man you became inside it. Ask yourself, where did I lose my edge? Was I neglecting my body, my mission, my standards? Now is the time to become the man she never imagined you could be without her. The man who doesn't seek validation. The man who trains with discipline and builds his life with purpose. A man so focused on his journey that even if she does return, he may not take her back. Here is the psychological twist. Women are drawn to growth, especially when it happens in their absence. When she sees you getting sharper, calmer, and more powerful without bitterness, that contrast creates internal conflict. She starts questioning her choice. She starts regretting. But you can't fake growth to get her back. You must outgrow the need to get her back. Becoming this man isn't about revenge, it's about rebirth. It's about rebuilding your frame to a level where she no longer defines your worth. When she sees that evolution, it will be undeniable. You won't need to speak. She will realize she didn't leave the same man who now stands before her. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. Sometimes silence screams the loudest. When faced with distance, most men panic. They speak, explain, and try to fix what can only be felt. But if your energy is anxious, she feels it. If your presence is erratic, she distances herself further. What you need is stillness. Stillness is emotional control disguised as indifference, but it cannot be fake. You aren't pretending to be calm, you are learning to be calm. A man in stillness becomes unpredictable. He becomes a question mark. In psychology, the mind is drawn to uncertainty. Women don't think about the man who always reacts. They think about the one who didn't. This is how you become unforgettable. You stop feeding the story. You stop letting her dictate your emotional pace. Stillness means you don't chase, but you also don't hate. You move with grace and intention. She will test that stillness. She might poke, breadcrumb, or bait you to respond. But the more you resist, the more power you accumulate. In a world of emotional volatility, the calm man stands out. He doesn't fight for validation. He just is. That stillness becomes a presence she can't stop feeling, even when you are nowhere near her. Let's get this straight. She doesn't miss your texts. She doesn't miss your good mornings. What she misses, if you do this right, is the emotional stability, leadership, and masculine grounding you brought into her world. But only if you stop trying to remind her of it. The moment you start over-communicating or chasing, you strip away your power. You make her decision to leave feel justified. Instead, let her feel what life is truly like without you, not in anger, but in detached, consistent absence. Women don't process regret when you are still emotionally available. As long as you are on the hook, she feels safe. You need to cut that safety net. They process regret when they can no longer reach you. When they are left alone with their thoughts and doubts, that is the space you need to create. She doesn't regret your messages. She regrets losing access to the man who no longer sends them. So, when the urge hits you to send that message, don't. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Let her wonder why you aren't fighting for her. That wonder turns into curiosity, and curiosity turns into attraction. Most men fail here. The moment space shows up, they run to close it. She pulls away, he texts. She gets distant, he plans a grand gesture. But that fear of space ruins your value. When you rush to close the gap, you communicate, I cannot exist without you. That mindset is deeply unattractive. Power lies in stillness, and attraction lies in the gap. You must let the gap breathe. Let her wonder. Let her feel the distance. Let her deal with the silence without you trying to break it. If she walked away, she must walk back. If you chase her across the gap, you rob her of the process that would have brought her back. In psychology, we value what we work for. If she doesn't work to get you back, she won't value keeping you. Make her cross the gap. Make her initiate, because that is the only way she will value the man on the other side. Most men are obsessed with timing in the wrong way. They think they need to act fast before she forgets them. But in reality, time is your greatest ally. When you stop talking completely, something interesting happens. Negative memories fade faster than positive ones. She starts to feel the weight of silence. Curiosity creeps in. What is he thinking? Why does he seem fine without me? Those questions come from your absence over time. When someone is no longer exposed to your presence daily, they begin to miss the version of you that was consistent and real. If you talk too soon, you reset the clock. You relieve her from the discomfort of wondering. You give her closure, and closure is the enemy of attraction. Remain silent and focus on your growth. Give her the time to realize what she lost, and give yourself time to realize what you deserve. Let time rewrite the emotional story. She will come back, not because you begged, but because time showed her what you never said. This is the ultimate paradox. The more you try to get her back, the less likely she will return. But the moment you stop needing her, stop obsessing, stop hinging your future on her presence, the energy flips. You need to become the man who doesn't need her to return in order to feel whole. This is about liberation. You reclaim every part of yourself that was outsourced to her validation. Ask yourself, who are you when she is not watching? Who are you when you have nothing left to prove? That man is the most dangerous, attractive version of yourself because he doesn't wait for permission to evolve. Women sense this shift. It is primal. You begin walking, speaking, and living differently. Not because you want her back, but because you've remembered who you were before the attachment. When she comes back, and she will, she is going to meet a version of you she no longer controls. That is the true win. Not her return, but your self-respect. Men often obsess over the resume of the relationship, the calls, the gifts, the effort. They hope she will remember that and return. But effort doesn't make someone stay. Presence does. What she truly feels is the void, not the resume of things you did right. She is not missing your effort. She is missing the version of you that was a foundation in her life. The man who brought emotional stability and masculine calm. The moment you go silent, that version of you becomes scarce, and scarcity creates value. Let her feel that value by removing yourself. Let her sit with the fact that the security she once had is now gone. Don't interrupt that realization. Disappear with dignity. When a woman truly feels the void, she stops thinking about your effort and starts realizing how much she underestimated what she had. Here is the final moment most men mess up. She returns, and you crumble. You revert to the guy who was begging. Let me be clear. If you do this right, she will likely come back. But the question isn't will she, it's will the man she finds be worth her regret. You must not be the same version of yourself when she returns. If you are, she will leave again. The goal is to become so evolved that even if she comes back, you are no longer sure if she fits into your life. The game isn't about revenge, it's about reinvention. When she comes back, she should feel like a guest in a new world you've built, one where you are no longer dependent on her love. When she sees the calm in your voice and the power in your presence, she won't just be curious, she will be undeniably drawn back in, because nothing is more attractive than a man she once knew who became someone she no longer deserves. She will have to re-earn you. If this resonated, share it with a brother who needs to wake up. Like this video to defeat the algorithm. Comment "I am becoming" below if you are committed to the process. This is where psychology meets power, and remember, silence isn't weakness, it is evolution.